Hi, so the joke here is very simple. This guy on YouTube said that M1.5, the laryngeal mechanism, exists. So he literally created his own laryngeal mechanism. God came back down to Earth. He hadn't visited since the original creation. He said, I'm dropping a new software update and we're going to get and 1.5 this time. So with that joke in mind, you might see more of these terrible mixed voice scenes in this video that I made, a little compilation. I'm going to rank singers following this huge error because mixed voice doesn't exist. It's just making the M2 laryngeal mechanism sound like M1. You can see my free course if you want. Yes, I made it free. You'll also get to access our beautiful community of M1.5 deniers, the conspiracy theorists. But following on this awful thing to say, I'm going to be ranking some singers that I like based on how much they mix on live shows. So for example, just to name an example, Axl Rose, after he loses his, Axl Rose-ness and becomes what everyone mocks as Mickey Mouse, right? That would be like M2.5, Because mixed voice, again, from my free course, is making M2 sound like M1. It's totally possible. I talk about it all the time. Just look at any of my videos and you'll see it is scientifically provable even. But in this particular video, which is just kind of funny, if a singer begins to sound too falsetto-ish, that would be like M2.5, That's no good, okay? The perfect ranking would be M2, okay? M2, if you get the perfect ranking, means that you're masking so well that no one even knows that you're using M2. This is a ranking that I'm going to reserve for not so many singers. Mark Martel is going to get this ranking right away because as I put on this post right here, everyone thinks he sounds like Freddie Mercury. And I agree, of course. I'm not deaf. But what's interesting from a laryngeal perspective is I'm convinced by doing this study where I analyzed 200 live bootlegs of Bohemian Rhapsody sang by Freddie, is that I'm convinced that they're not using the same laryngeal mechanism or the same technique. However, for the general public, although there's a 2% of people who will say he sounds a little thinner, which is just come on, yeah, he's also singing all the songs in its original key, unlike Freddie, and never cracking, unlike Freddie. Just see that video over there for proof. Literal empirical evidence, by the way. It's just you don't even have to believe me. I can't just talk out of my ass M1.5 exists. Bro, you can't just say shit. I mean, you can, but what the fuck? Anyway, so Mark Martel is going to get a perfect M2 ranking, which is comparable to the S tier or the equivalent to it, because he's just incredible. It's peak. It's just, it doesn't get any better than that. It's for example, Chris Cornell is going to get an M1.8. And what I mean here by M1.8 is that I don't think anyone is as floored with his live vocal consistency as it is the case with Mark Martel. However, to his defense, I could almost say it's not his fault because his songs are more powerful. So when you push your voice to that limit, it actually does become harder to do them, even with this magical technique. So don't take this as a diss, but he's going to get M1.8. It's, I think, still the metal singer wise, he's the best that you can do with this technique. I had no idea it could sound that powerful until I felt it for myself. Not that I sound as powerful, but it's crazy to go from the very beginning where your M2 just sounds like Mickey Mouse, worse than Axl Rose at his worst moment, to suddenly, starts working for classic rock songs and then suddenly starts working for metal as well. It's a crazy progression, and that's all that I mean. Now, Chester Bennington is going to get a perfect M2 because holy fucking shit, he always sounds great live, and there's nothing that I can say about his technique. I have sang every day on the street for 4 months with this technique, sort of pushing just to test, because again, I like to talk out of empirical evidence, and I wouldn't feel too comfortable advertising a technique to you if I hadn't tested for myself that you can always hit the high notes, unlike what was happening for Freddie. Again, you can check my video here. Or if you start losing your voice, or if you can only do a few songs like some other vocal coaches. But it's not the case. I could sing for 2 hours, except I started really doing a Chris Cornell type of tone, which means technically a lot of compression. You can see my advanced course, the M2 Academy method for that. Your voice gets tired more quickly, okay? It's like like an hour and a half pushing the limits, and then you have to resort back to something safer, closer to Martel. So being as transparent as I can. Okay, I'm not going to say you can sing for 5 hours straight. Like, okay, come on. It's not like you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to feel bad though. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just like natural stamina, I would say. So Chester gets a perfect M2 rating. Now Serj Tankian is going to get M1.8 only because like he made it, which I love because he's like one of my favorite ever singers, like top 3 for sure. Fucking listen to System of a Down all day. So I can appreciate when a singer sort of does what Axl Rose did for me, in a sense that he just like shows you he was always singing in M2. Like, you don't even have to have a conspiracy theory about it and just make your fucking studies or whatever. It's just like, like, he's like not pushing. Just ask yourself, do you think he always, again, I don't agree with the hate, but I have to reference it somehow. You know how some people now say he sounds like Squidward or whatever the fuck, which, again, like, go fuck yourself. Unless you're being like nice about it, which I don't know if that's even possible. But just to reference that thing specifically, it's like, yeah, he sounds like super thing, operatic in a light type of way, but he hits all the notes, like D5 stuff like that in his solo stuff, which, it really works for that. Super consistent, super, like, no question about it. And it just becomes so transparent for anyone that is into this information that is M2, right? So I actually appreciate that. I have to mention the dissing and the mocking. I feel like I have no choice. But it's like no disrespect, honestly. Like, I don't love people who are saying that, to be honest. Same for the whole Mickey Mouse thing incident with Axl Rose. That was my first. Actually, I have a lot to thank for, I guess, for Axl, because he was the first singer that I could do pause, that I could replicate. And in M2 falsetto, and I was like, holy shit, I sound like exactly like Axl Rose. I even got comments saying you sound like Axl Rose, like your sound alike, which again never happened for any other singer. So I'm not just saying that for every fucking singer or anything. So I was like, okay, I got this shit down, and now I know from scientific or empirical evidence that it is just falsetto, right? However, he also, like, for anyone who's paying attention, made it like obvious, for everyone else. People will say, oh, but he lost his voice, and maybe they think he was like before singing in chest voice and now, or before he was singing in mixed voice, right? And now he's singing in falsetto, whatever people think. There are like so many layers of delusion to vocal coaching, so I don't even fucking understand them anymore. But again, he made it quite possible to see that, M2 is out there, because people always like call me crazy, like, oh, what do you mean falsetto can sound like chest voice, you're just delusional. And I don't think Axl Rose ever sounded like chest voice anyway, but he was like the one who kick-started my having faith in M2 journey, so I appreciate that. So he's going to get like an M1.3 because I mean, it's just like one of the lower, rankings. No disrespect, just like he lost all the power to his M2. I don't know why. Like, I don't know. I've been singing M2 with similar tones. I never toured the world. I know, like, you can get mad if you want. I'm just trying to be genuinely curious. As you know, I try to explore everything, right? And you can lose your voice and start sounding like Mickey Mouse. It happened. So again, that's like why, no disrespect. But it's like he just like lost it like permanently, It's like he can't recover. So that's sad. It must be really frustrating as a singer. And also it's like, so that's all I'm saying. So that's actually it for this video, because there's not that many singers who I believe use this technique. I'm not just going on a promotional rampage saying like, check out this technique because the singers use it. I actually, just like slowly develop some confidence in saying, I think this singer is using it. Of course, they would probably never agree themselves, or we can't know technically. So of course it is just my opinion. It's just sort of like took me 10 years to feel kind of sure, because I started getting the tones myself from M2. Serj Tankian wise, I can sound like a very we could say old Serj Tankian easily in M2, so I'm pretty like convinced that it is M2. Same thing for Marc Martel and Chris Cornell. I can kind of do the tones. Chester Bennington, honestly, a little harder. Like I don't sound as close, I would say, but I still hold on to a feeling that he was doing this technique, especially because of his live consistency. So that's the video for this one. Go to my website. There's a promo going on. You can see that on the top bar. Okay.